Paradiso was sitting with his attorney, Chuck Pacheco. Pacheco had called 2 witnesses prior. He called 2 San Joaquin deputies to discuss some of Paradiso's priors. And then it was going to be Kevin Mayo, the deputy district attorney's turn, to cross-examine Paradiso on testimony that he provided on Tuesday. Paradiso, when he was called, just sort of shook his head at Pacheco and said, "I don't want to go up." And Pacheco kind of looked at him and sternly said, "You have to go up, otherwise everything that you told me when I was questioning you is stricken from the record. We have to have that for our case." He said, "No, I don't want to go up." And Pacheco asked for a break. Judge Fox then took both attorneys into her chambers, and it was just a short time, it was just a couple minutes. And at that point, Pacheco came back, and before he even got to the table, Paradiso told him, "Okay, I'll go up." It was almost like he was thinking about something and just pondering if he was willing to go up or not, and then just made the decision while they were in the chambers. And Mayo asked him a couple of questions about, did you call 911? Did you attempt to call 911? Did you have your dad call 911? Did you have your mom call 911? He seemed irritated that these questions were being asked of him. And his responses were, fairly curt. He asked, "Well, why did you kill Eileen Pelt?" And Paradiso said, "Because she deserved to die," and that just set the entire Pelt family. You just heard a loud gasp, some sobbing. People just couldn't believe that he was saying this, and frankly, I was surprised too that it was almost snide and just sort of an in-your-face type of a comment. And then the next thing, he asked, "Well, what did she ever do to deserve you to kill her? What did she ever do to you?" And at that point, he made a reference to a sexual reference. And then his mom, Dept Paradiso, who was sitting right in front of me, in the row right in front of me, stood up and yelled, "You should have never let him up there. You should have listened to him." And they had to take a break, and they got her out of the room. When they came back, Judge Fox asked for a recess and directed the jurors to leave. And when she did that, Paradiso stood up too. And there was a bailiff next to him, and he was motioning for him to sit back down. He wasn't ready to let him off the stand yet. But then all of a sudden, he runs around and lifts up Judge Fox onto the bench and just really starts making motions like I thought he was punching her. I didn't see anything sharp at that time. And just in moments, I could see Detective Bradley from the Lodi Police Department walk. I just saw his head and his back turn and his arm up like this. And I heard pop, pop, pop. And it was just sort of a surreal, oh my God, this just happened moment occurs. I didn't notice anything that was out of the ordinary. I talked to Chuck Pacheco at 1:30, and I asked what was on the docket for the afternoon. What's your plan? He said that he was going to that he had the sergeant from San Joaquin Sheriff's Office and another officer from that office that were going to testify to some priors. It was a little bit ironic because the first sergeant that testified had described an incident in 2005 where Paradiso just sort of went nuts in a hospital, and this officer was describing him as being mentally unstable. He was able to let loose from some restraints inside of a squad car and break out windows in the squad car, and he just was physically unable to be controlled by authorities at that time. When Paradiso took the stand, I noticed a little bit that, I mean, he seemed a little bit pale. He had told Pacheco, "I don't feel well." I could hear that because I was in the third row right behind them, and I could hear their conversation. And I remember listening intently because as a reporter, I'm thinking about, well, here's a wrinkle for my story tomorrow, is that the murder suspect refuses to be cross-examined. I thought that was going to be our story for the day. I was in the third row of the gallery, in the third seat on the right as you enter the courtroom. I stood up when I noticed that Paradiso went over and started attacking Judge Fox. I stood up and I just watched as close as I could what was happening. In a couple of minutes I noticed everyone else in the room was ducking, and I thought, oh, maybe I should duck. But I never felt that I was threatened because I knew that shots fired was by police and not by Paradiso. So I never felt like there was any danger coming out towards the gallery at all. It was just a real surreal moment, and then when they get everybody out, I'm standing in the hallway just thinking, what do I do now? I called to the office to get some more reporters out to the scene and some photographers. And it was just really nothing like I've ever experienced before. I didn't plan to see it yesterday. Just the idea of witnessing somebody being shot, I honestly never thought that I'd actually see that. And to see a judge attacked in a courtroom, I go to courtrooms fairly often for my job, and I never thought that I'd see something like that in a courtroom. It's not just another day at the office. It definitely had me wired all day yesterday, and it's sort of consuming my thoughts a lot today too.